watching another episode of Light and Darkness, where we are focusing on Scripture 2 Corinthians 4:17 to 18 here on ABN, and we'll focus on the second part of the Scripture, where the Apostle Paul continues by saying, he's referring to this light affliction, and he's saying it's working for us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory. So he says, for our light affliction, which is but for a moment, is working for us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory. So what he's saying here is, even though there is this light affliction, temporary but still existing, it is an affliction, he's saying that it's doing the body good. It's doing, it's necessary for us at this point in time. And the question that I have is, what would happen if he's referring to the body as a container of the spirit temporarily in the physical realm? The question is, what would happen if the spirit is set free by the body in the physical realm? Would it be a blessing or would it be a burden? Would it cause physical and spiritual fruits to come, or would it cause consequences? Or would it be a balance of both? And if problems were to occur, is it because of the limitations imposed by this body or this container? And if the answer to that is yes, then comes to my next question, is the body or is this container essential or necessary during this temporary time that we have on earth? And number two is, why is this body or container necessary? If something is so valuable, why aren't we provided the opportunity, or why aren't we given the opportunity by the Creator to express ourselves fully, even though we're in the physical realm? Or is it referring to something which cannot be really measured? If it is referring to something, containing something, that which cannot be measured, then how does that which can be measured, which is the body or the physical sense, how can that in and of itself contain a glimpse of that which cannot be measured? Something to meditate and think about. And the second part is, if all we ever really see now is a glimpse or a leak of our spirit, of what we're going to see in the physical realm, and our true identity in the making, then how do we, if we have the ability to see it, a glimpse of it here, how do we feed it? How do we nourish it? How do we see it come to life in new ways, in more creative ways, in a new dimension, from a different angle? How do we see that fire within us that God creates within me and within you? How do we not only nourish it to see it come alive more, but really see it as a testimony and as a miracle of God here within the physical sense before we touch the point of eternity? And also, when he's saying it's working for us, he's referring to two things here. The first is he's referring to us individually as people, as a human. And of course, it confirms to us our identity, or it's developing within us our identity over time, whether good or bad, whether productive or unproductive, whether healthy or unhealthy. It's developing within us a spiritual DNA, preparing us for this spiritual eternality that he's referring to. And number two, it also brings to life, or brings the message or the prophecy of Jesus, talking about the kingdom of heaven, talking about the narrow gate which leads to the kingdom of heaven. It's really bringing that prophecy to life here on earth. And part two of that scripture, he's talking about the eternal weight of glory. So he's talking about the weight, the vertical axis, where he's talking about something that's light or heavy, and he's talking about the eternal weight of glory. The eternal weight of glory is either light or heavy. And in actuality, spending time in the spiritual realm is not only empowering, but it's also very draining, because a moment in a spiritual mindset, it takes a lot out of the physical sense containing that spiritual mindset. And so if, for example, if a minute in a spiritual mindset equals 100 hours, let's say, in just a physical mindset, then the eternal weight of glory, it links back to the first question, is this container that's containing the Spirit. If eternal weight of glory, if all we can absorb or contain or handle is a minute of a spiritual sense because of the drain that it has on the physical body, then the question is, how much more is the weight of the real glory? How much more is the value of this eternal weight of glory, of 100% eternality? Not a glimpse of it, not 1% of it, not a preview of it, but the entire thing. Then if we are given the ability to completely be embraced within the eternal weight of glory, then the question is, can the physical body contain this eternal weight of glory? And the answer is that it probably cannot, and it probably is the physical sense, or the physical being has a limitation to contain this the spiritual eternality of the individual. And part two is the question of those of us who say, oh, well, Summer, you know what, there is no eternality. This is it. What you see is what you get. And so if that is the position of the individual reading the scripture, the question then is, if there's no eternality, are we currently existing in our own perception of eternality? So if point B, and if the end is the physical death and there is no slipping into eternity, then are we currently living in our own perception of eternity? And if the answer to that is yes, then how would the scripture be interpreted by that sort of a mindset? Because like we said, it's all on the assumption, the position, and the reaction of the person that we're able to define and interpret the scripture that we're reading. But today, again, we talked about the second part of 2 Corinthians 4:17 to 18, where it talks about this light affliction. Though it's for a moment, it is working for us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory. Thank you for joining me here on Light and Darkness.